October 2nd, 1835, just before dawn. 100 Mexican cavalrymen face off against 18 Texian settlers across a foggy field near the Guadalupe River. Between them, a single rusty cannon, bronze, barely functional, so small it could fire nothing larger than scrap metal. But that cannon is about to start a war. The Texians have draped a makeshift flag above it, white cotton cloth, black letters painted in haste. The message is simple: come and take it. In a few minutes, someone will fire the first shot of the Texas Revolution, and nothing in Texas will ever be the same. This is the true story of the Battle of Gonzales, the day an argument over a broken cannon became the spark that ignited an entire rebellion. To understand why men were willing to fight over a cannon, you have to go back 5 years. In 1831, the Mexican government was worried. American settlers were pouring into Texas. Impresarios like Stephen F. Austin had brought thousands of families into Mexican territory. Most were law-abiding, but the Mexican authorities feared Comanche raids and growing unrest along the frontier. So the government made a decision: arm the settlers. They distributed a small number of cannons to frontier communities for protection against Native American attacks. These weren't military-grade weapons. They were outdated, small-bore pieces, more symbolic than strategic. Gonzales, a small settlement along the Guadalupe River, received one, a 6-pound bronze cannon, the kind you might use to signal celebrations or scare off raiders. It was cast in 1810, likely in Mexico or Spain. By 1831, it was already obsolete. The settlers mounted it in the town square. They used it exactly as intended, to defend against Comanche raids and as a ceremonial piece for holidays. For 4 years, nobody questioned it. But in 1835, everything changed. General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna had seized power in Mexico and dissolved the Federalist Constitution of 1824. He was consolidating authority, crushing dissent, and centralizing control. In his eyes, the American settlers in Texas, most of whom had arrived under the old Federalist system, were a threat. One of his first orders regarding Texas: disarm the colonists, and that meant retrieving the cannons. September 1835. Colonel Domingo de Ugartechea, the Mexican military commander at San Antonio de Bechar, received orders: retrieve all firearms and artillery from the Texian settlements. Start with Gonzales. On September 10th, Ugartechea sent a corporal and 5 soldiers to Gonzales with a simple request: return the cannon. The people of Gonzales refused. Not violently, not dramatically. They simply stalled. They told the soldiers the cannon was buried, that it was broken, that they'd need time to dig it up. The soldiers, outnumbered and far from reinforcements, returned to San Antonio empty-handed. Ugartechea wasn't pleased. He sent a second and larger force, about 100 dragoons under Lieutenant Francisco de Castañeda. Their orders were clear: retrieve the cannon, use force if necessary. But by the time Castañeda's men arrived on September 29th, the people of Gonzales had made their decision. They weren't giving up the cannon, and they were ready to fight for it. When word spread that Mexican troops were approaching, the settlers of Gonzales moved quickly. They hid the cannon. They sent riders to nearby communities asking for reinforcements, and they gathered every able-bodied man with a rifle. Andrew Ponton, a local farmer, rode to nearby Lavaca. Albert Martin galloped toward San Felipe. The message was urgent: Gonzales is under threat. Bring guns. Bring men. Meanwhile, the women and children of Gonzales were evacuated across the Guadalupe River to the east. The men stayed behind, barricaded in the town, waiting. Lieutenant Castañeda arrived on September 29th and camped on the west bank of the river, about 8 miles from Gonzales. He sent a messenger into town demanding the cannon. The Texians refused to meet him. Instead, they removed the ferry that crossed the river, making it impossible for Castaneda to advance without swimming his horses across. Then they waited. For 3 days, both sides sat in a tense standoff. Castaneda didn't want bloodshed. His orders were to retrieve the cannon, not start a war. The Texians didn't want bloodshed either, but they also weren't backing down. Reinforcements began arriving in Gonzales. Men from surrounding settlements rode in with rifles and powder. By October 1st, the Texian force had grown to about 150 men, many answering the urgent calls for help from surrounding settlements. Not a large army, yet enough. And someone had an idea. They needed a flag. The flag was made in haste. Some accounts say it was sewn by the women of Gonzales before they evacuated. Others say the men cobbled it together themselves using white cotton cloth, likely from a wedding dress or bedsheet. The design was simple but defiant. A white background, a black cannon painted in the center, a single black star above it, representing Texas as one of the Mexican states. And below the cannon, 2 words in thick black paint: "Come and take it." The phrase wasn't original. It echoed the ancient Greek king Leonidas, who reportedly told the Persians, Molin Labe, "Come and take them," when asked to surrender his weapons at Thermopylae. Whether the Texians knew the reference or simply came up with it independently, the message was the same: defiance. On the evening of October 1st, the Texians decided to stop waiting. They would take the fight to the Mexicans. John Henry Moore, a veteran Indian fighter, took command of the volunteers. They loaded the little bronze cannon onto an ox cart, raised their flag, and prepared to march. Around midnight, they crossed the Guadalupe River and moved toward Castaneda's camp. October the 2nd, 1835. Around 3 a.m., the Texians approached Castaneda's position under cover of darkness and thick fog. The plan was to catch the Mexican dragoons off guard, fire the cannon, and force a confrontation. But the fog was so dense, they nearly stumbled into the Mexican camp before realizing how close they were. Moore ordered his men to halt. They waited in the darkness, cannon loaded, fingers on triggers. As dawn broke, the fog began to lift. The 2 forces finally saw each other. Castaneda's dragoons formed up quickly, about 100 mounted soldiers, carbines ready, sabers at their sides. They held a defensive line about 300 yards from the Texians. The Texians, now numbering around 150 men, stood behind their cannon. The ox had been unhitched. The barrel pointed at the Mexican line. The "come and take it" flag flapped in the morning breeze. Castaneda rode forward. He called out in Spanish, asking to speak with the Texian commander. Moore rode out to meet him. The 2 men talked. Castaneda explained his orders: return the cannon. Avoid bloodshed if possible. Moore responded simply: the cannon belongs to Gonzales. We will not surrender it. Castaneda asked if they understood what this meant. Refusing a direct order from the Mexican military was treason. It was rebellion. Moore said they understood. Castaneda returned to his line. He ordered his men to hold position. He did not want to be the man who started a war, but someone fired. To this day, no one knows who fired the first shot. Some accounts say it was a Texian who fired into the air. Others say it was a nervous Mexican soldier. What we know for certain is that once the first shot rang out, both sides opened fire. The Texians fired their rifles. The Mexicans returned fire with carbines. And then the little bronze cannon roared. The cannonball, likely nothing more than scrap iron and chopped up horseshoes, screamed across the field toward the Mexican line. It didn't hit anyone, but it didn't matter. The message had been sent. The skirmish lasted only a few minutes. The range was too great for accurate rifle fire, and neither side wanted to charge into the other. After a brief exchange of shots, Castaneda ordered his men to fall back. One Mexican soldier was killed. His name is lost to history. A few others were wounded. On the Texian side, there were no casualties. Castaneda retreated west, back toward San Antonio. He would report to Ugartechea that the settlers had fired on Mexican troops, that they had refused a lawful order, that Texas was in open rebellion. The Texians stayed in the field. They cheered. They waved their flag. They had won, not because they defeated the Mexican army, but because they'd stood their ground. And the Mexican government now knew the Texians were willing to fight. News of Gonzales spread like wildfire across Texas. Within days, volunteers from across the region began gathering. Men arrived from San Felipe, from La Vaca, from the Colorado River settlements. They brought rifles, horses, and a shared sense of anger at Santa Anna's centralist regime. By mid-October, the Texian force had grown to several hundred men. They called themselves the Army of the People. Stephen F. Austin, the reluctant diplomat, was elected their commander. Their first target, San Antonio de Bexar. The Texas Revolution had officially begun, but it didn't start with a grand battle or declaration of independence. It started with 18 farmers refusing to give up a rusty cannon. The "Come and Take It" flag became a symbol, not just of that one skirmish, but of the entire rebellion. Copies of it appeared in other towns. The phrase was repeated in speeches, in letters, in rallying cries. "Come and take it" meant more than just defiance. It meant that the people of Texas had decided they would no longer be governed by a regime that ignored their rights, disarmed them, and treated them as subjects rather than citizens. So what happened to the people who fought at Gonzales? John Henry Moore, the Texian commander, went on to fight in multiple battles of the Texas Revolution. He survived the war and became a ranger and Indian fighter. He died in 1880. Lieutenant Francisco de Castaneda, the Mexican officer who tried to avoid bloodshed, continued serving in Santa Anna's army. He fought at the Battle of Concepcion just weeks later, where he was mortally wounded. He died on October 28, 1835, a casualty of the war he'd tried to prevent. The cannon itself? It disappeared. After the Battle of Gonzales, the little bronze cannon was used in other engagements. Some accounts say it was taken to the Alamo and used during the siege. Others say it was buried to prevent capture. No one knows for certain. The original "Come and Take It" cannon has never been found, but the flag survived, or at least the idea of it did. Replicas hang in museums, in homes, on bumper stickers. It's one of the most recognizable symbols in Texas history. And every year, the city of Gonzales holds a celebration called Come and Take It Days. They reenact the battle. They wave the flag. They remember. Because Gonzales wasn't just the first battle of the Texas Revolution. It was the moment when Texians decided they were willing to fight for their beliefs. When they drew a line in the dirt and said, "No further." It was the moment when a broken cannon became worth dying for. Revolutions don't start with grand battles. They start with small acts of defiance. The Battle of Gonzales wasn't a military victory. The Texians didn't destroy the Mexican army. They didn't capture territory. They didn't even keep the cannon for long. But they proved something. They proved that the settlers of Texas, farmers, merchants, immigrants, were willing to risk everything rather than submit to a government they believed had betrayed them, and they proved it to themselves. Before Gonzales, many Texians were uncertain. Should they resist? Should they negotiate? Should they leave? After Gonzales, the answer was clear. They would fight. Santa Anna's centralist regime had given them no choice. By trying to disarm the settlers, by dissolving the Constitution of 1824, by treating Texas as a colony rather than a state, Santa Anna had created his own enemy. And that enemy was about to become a republic. The Battle of Gonzales was fought on October 2nd, 1835. By March 2nd, 1836, just 5 months later, Texas would declare its independence. By April 21st, Sam Houston would defeat Santa Anna at San Jacinto. All of it traced back to that foggy morning in Gonzales, to roughly 150 men and a cannon, to a flag that said, "Come and take it." They came, and the Texians didn't give it. Today, if you visit Gonzales, Texas, you'll find monuments, plaques, a museum. The town is proud of its history, and it should be, because Gonzales is where the Texas Revolution began. Not in a courthouse, not in a legislative hall, but in a field with ordinary people who decided that some things, freedom, dignity, the right to defend yourself, were worth fighting for. The "come and take it" canon may be lost to history, but the spirit of Gonzales isn't. It's in every Texan who refuses to back down. In every person who draws a line and says, "This far, no further." In every act of defiance against tyranny, large or small. Gonzales was the first shot, but it echoed for generations. This is Texas. This is our history. And it started with a cannon. If you want more true Texas history, the real stories, the real people, the moments that shaped this state, hit that like button and subscribe to Texas Tales. Because history isn't just about the big battles. It's about the small acts of courage that change everything. Come and take it.